Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together as I invite Rajan Anandan, Vice President, Southeast Asia and India, Google.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 4th edition of Google for India. We greatly appreciate all of you taking the time to join us today. We've had an incredibly exciting morning, and those of you that were able to join us this morning, I hope you agree, that we announced some major new products as well as many enhancements to several of our existing consumer products in India. Before we get into the main session, I wanted to take a few minutes to walk you through some of the most important announcements that we made. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'll at least try to cover some of the most important ones that we actually talked about this morning. Starting with access, we announced a major new partnership with Andhra Pradesh State FiberNet to bring high-speed Wi-Fi to over 12,000 villages in Andhra Pradesh with Google Station. We will start rolling this out by the end of this year, helping 10 million people to get online in rural Andhra Pradesh. To improve entry-level smartphones at lower prices, we also announced Samsung's first ever Android Go Edition device. This is in addition to devices from Micromax, Lava, Nokia, and Transsion. For Indian language internet users, to get more from the web, we announced several new exciting initiatives and features. On the Google's Go Search app, we launched a brand new way to consume content. Now you can pull up any web page in English, Hindi, Marathi, Malayalam, Bengali, and Tamil, and the app will read it out to you. On Google Assistant, we're adding Marathi in addition to Hindi and English. And support for 7 more languages are coming soon on the Google Assistant. We're also making our products more relevant beyond Indian languages. On Google Maps, our partnership with Redbus will now help users find information covering 20,000 routes across 1,500 Indian cities. And the thing that I'm most excited about is digital payments. In less than a year since launch, our India First Payments app, Tez, has already processed over 750 million transactions from over 22 million active users and has gone from 0 to over $30 billion of transaction value, all in less than 12 months. And this momentum has encouraged us to take Tez global. And as a first step, we're renaming the app in India to Google Pay. Over time, we'll bring the best of our global Pay app to India. As you can see, we're not only bringing the best of Google products to India, but we're also investing to build new solutions for India first. I want to take a moment to walk you through what makes India the most exciting internet market in the world. In the last few years, we've seen a paradigm shift in India's internet. From being a metro, mail, and millennial-dominated medium, India's internet has changed completely. Today, India has over 390 million monthly active internet users. There has been a 4x growth in rural internet users since 2012 in India. More women are getting online than ever before. And at the current growth rate, 45% of internet users will be women on the Indian internet in the next 3 years. India's data usage on mobile now stands at par with every developed market. The data consumption in India has been absolutely staggering. We're at 8 gigabytes per month per connected user in India. These highly connected users are now greatly transforming every business. And we are seeing explosive growth and adoption across e-commerce, digital payments, ride-sharing, and the emergence of many new consumer services in India. I want to share 3 big themes that captures the behavior of this new India, of this new internet in India. Voice, video, and vernacular. Let's start with voice. Voice is emerging as the preferred mode of input for new internet users in India. We're seeing 270% year-on-year growth in voice queries in India. Video. Online video is truly mainstream in India now. Online video accounts for 75% of all mobile internet traffic in India today. And YouTube has reached massive scale. Across age groups, across all of India, YouTube today has 245 million monthly active users. These highly engaged users are driving YouTube consumption across genres and across Indian languages. I'm very excited to share that T-Series, who embraced YouTube early, has crossed an incredibly important global milestone and now has over 50 million subscribers. I would like to thank them for their partnership. Can we have Neeraj Kalyan, president of T-Series, accept a tall, small token of our appreciation? Let's give Neeraj and his team at T-Series a big round of applause. Where's my token? Congratulations, congratulations. Thank you, Neeraj. And Neeraj, you are within striking distance of being #1 globally, as you know. And I'm hoping that, well, more than that, I'm hoping that in the next 3 months, you'll actually be the #1 subscriber channel globally for YouTube. So let's give another big round of applause for T-Series. Vernacular. Behind this incredible growth of online video is another massive India user behavior. Today, a majority of internet users are Indian language users. And we expect over 500 million Indian language internet users in India in the next 2 years. Lack of local language content is a big barrier for them, and it's no surprise that video is driving all their engagement on the web. Today, 95% of video consumption in India is in non-English languages, is in vernacular Indian languages. Just a few weeks ago, we released a very interesting research report together with the Bain and Omidyar network on Digital Bharat. We believe that in the next 5 years, 500 million internet users have the potential to unlock over $50 billion of online transactions in Bharat. This is just Bharat. We have doubled down on our efforts to innovate our ad products to enable new ways for you to drive targeted campaigns at massive scale with industry-leading measurement solutions. Through the course of the afternoon, you'll hear from many industry leaders on how leading brands and companies are embracing digital. Thank you again for joining us today. Coming up next, I'm delighted to welcome Kim Spaulding, who leads our ad product innovations for globally. Let's welcome Kim.
Good afternoon. I'm Kim Spaulding. This is my 3rd visit to India in 2 years. And every time I'm here, I'm inspired by what I see and what I learn. When I first came, the landscape of the Indian internet was fundamentally changed by the explosive growth of new mobile users and low-cost data. Today, we're seeing a similar explosion in growth, this time driven by Indian language users. In the next 5 years, 9 out of 10 new Indian internet users will be Indian language users. And they're using the internet not just for entertainment, but to find information about news, education courses, domestic real estate, shopping, electronics, automobiles, and more. And we see how this is changing people's lives. Meet Choti. Choti is an internet sathi and a mother of 4. Her husband supplements their agricultural income working with taxi companies. Choti knew if they owned their car, they could make more money. She turned to the web. She learned about car ownership, secondhand car ownership, and the online platforms that can help make the exchange. She even went as far as to help secure a loan to finance the purchase. And all of this she did online. Today, Choti and her family are the proud owners of a used Toyota Corolla, and they've been able to double their monthly income. Google's helping new users navigate the web, often for the first time. We're enabling access across the spectrum, from keyboard and content like you heard about this morning, to ads and creative. And of course, to do this, it's important to speak the same language. For example, Hindustan Unilever hosted a how-to video on party makeup in English. Let's take a look.
But a totally glamorous party look. Step number 1, moisturize your face.
You get the idea. Moisturizer. So the video did well, and it gained about 500,000 mostly paid views. We recommended they dub the video into Hindi. Let's take a look at that one.
बिल्कुल ग्लैमरस पार्टी लुक पाने का स्टेप नंबर 1 अपने चेहरे को मॉइस्चराइज करें.
So guess what happened? This got them 5.2 million views, and all organic. Truly gorgeous results, pun intended. Advertising in local languages is critical to reach out to new users. And as you might expect, 88% of users are more likely to respond to a digital ad if it's in their local language versus English. In 2017, we introduced smart display campaigns in Hindi, and we've seen a number of advertisers reach out to these audiences in language. I'll share an example. Kotak Mahindra Bank. Last year, they launched their Kotak 811, an instant digital savings account. It was important for them to reach both Tier 1 and Tier 2 markets. For the digital campaign, they tapped the Hindi language inventory and built specific Hindi language digital assets. This helped them drive 30% increase in scale at a similar cost of acquisition and with increased customer engagement. Awesome results. I'm very excited to say that our ad products support Tamil, Bengali, and Telugu across search, display, and YouTube. This will help you reach the right audiences with relevant language, content, and geography. And we're seeing similar lifts for other languages. Another example is Bajaj and their Inspiring Indians campaign. I've had a chance to see these videos with English subtitles, of course, and they are really amazing. Bajaj delivered a 12% higher view-through rate with the same video dubbed in Telugu as compared to the same creative run in Hindi. We will continue to invest heavily in Indic languages, and I'm excited to share that we'll be adding support for Marathi. With all these languages, you'll be able to reach 2/3 of Indic language users. Now, as these new users come online, their behavior changes, and that informs the way we develop our products. So we knew we needed to reinvent the norm and reimagine the experience. My team at Google is focused on expanding and building ad products for India. And we're focused on 3 principles. First, make it simple. Second, focus on driving great results. And third, make sure it works for all businesses, both large and small. I'm going to share 3 product announcements today, all 3 of which build on these principles. First, let's talk about small businesses. Small businesses are the backbone of the Indian economy. However, only 2% of small businesses take advantage of digital technology. Lack of time, skills, and complexity are all barriers. But we know that Indian businesses that are online are able to grow revenue and profits twice as fast as their offline counterparts. That's why we're bringing smart campaigns to small businesses in India. Smart campaigns are designed for small businesses. We take the innovation and technology of Google Ads and simplify the experience for businesses that are small. Small businesses give us their goals, and machine learning does the rest to optimize their campaigns. We know that most small businesses in India don't have a website. That's why with smart campaigns, we're automatically generating landing pages. No marketing experience or website required. Smart campaigns is just the beginning. We will continue to invest in addressing the unique needs of the Indian small business. Second, let's talk about lead generation. Now, the online form is, of course, the long-standing tool for generating leads. But with 90% of Indian language users on their mobile phone, who wants to fill in an online form? I know I just want to tap and swipe, and I kind of expect Google to do the rest. So that's exactly what we've done. Today, I'm happy to announce Form Ads on search. And we've built this product, India first. Let's take a look. So let's say Arav needs to get his car serviced. So he goes to Google search, and he types car service Ford. He clicks on the sign up button on the Ford search ad, and a Google-hosted form appears. He reviews his name and email address and clicks submit, and he automatically gets a message back from Ford. It took 2 clicks and less than 3 seconds to get it done, and he never had to leave the Google search page. Pretty cool. We'll also be adding Form Ads to YouTube to help you generate leads with your video ads. Form Ads are simple, drive results, and instant. Third, let's talk about online to offline. We are seeing some incredibly exciting behaviors in shopping. Traditionally, people would search for businesses and pharmacies and stores and restaurants near me. Increasingly, we're seeing the Indian consumer ask for restaurants near me that are open now. They want it instant. And they're also looking for products. For example, I'm in an Indian wedding coming up, and I need a kurti. I'm here in India this week, and I go to Google, and I'm searching for kurti stores open near me. And I want to make sure they've got the right products in stock. It's not just me. We're seeing Indian users do exactly the same thing. That's why we're looking forward to bringing local inventory ads to India. Local inventory ads help people find products in nearby store inventory. Now, when we think about online to offline behavior, measurement becomes critical. Advertisers across Google globally have measured more than 10 billion store visits on Google Ads across verticals like travel, retail, QSR, and telco. A recent example I'd like to share is Home Center. As you know, Home Center is India's largest home furnishing store. Physical stores contribute about 98% of their revenue, and they've traditionally spent their ad budget on TV and print. They decided to test in 2 markets where they were seeing print spends shift to digital. They ran campaigns on search, YouTube, and display. Home Center saw a 20% increase in in-store sales and a 19% increase in online sales. Fantastic results. They decided to scale the strategy across India. So to close, we're seeing more and more Indians come online, looking for help with commercial tasks and focused on getting things done right now. The impact that digital has on their lives is really exciting. And we see the online world and the offline world come together in a really seamless way. We will continue to strive to make our experiences better, simple, focused on driving results, and with businesses of all sizes in mind. We're excited to be on this journey with you and to bring you products that help you take your marketing to the next level. Thank you. And I'll ask Rajan back to the stage.
Is this on? Okay, yeah, great. All right, so for the next session, we have a pretty exciting fireside chat with a CEO who's deeply engaged in digital and really at this point is all things digital. Once we get the chairs all fixed up, I shall introduce him on stage. And by the way, we were just talking backstage. We think that at least 30% of you in the room probably have, in some form or the other, worked with this next leader. So it's my great pleasure to welcome on stage Gopal Vittal, the CEO of Airtel. Come, Gopal. So as all of you know, Gopal doesn't really need an introduction. He's been at the center stage of all things digital for the last many years, but before that was also at Unilever, so understands all things Indian consumer and all things marketing. So thank you, Gopal, for coming.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start with the evolving Indian internet consumer. Clearly over the last 12, 18 months, everything seems to have changed.
Yeah.
And I'd love for you to sort of talk a little bit about how have behaviors changed? Are you seeing different kinds of users coming onto the internet? So tell us a little bit about what's going on.
Yeah, sure. So on the mobile, I think you know this better. We have about 350 odd million smartphones now. And we've sort of added about 80 to 100 million smartphones in the last 1 year. But the staggering thing is that if you look at it, let's say a year ago, people were spending, on an average, 3 hours a day with the device. And that's now gone from 3 hours to 4 hours.
4 hours a day.
It's absolutely unhealthy in my view, 4 hours looking at the device, but it's a dramatic shift. And the interesting thing is that if you look at a number of users that we've seen grow in the last 1 year, we've grown users by around 40%, but we've grown consumption by almost 600%.
600%?
Yeah. So it's a dramatic change because the average consumption has gone from something like 1.5 gigabytes a month to about 9 gigabytes a month, 8.5 gigabytes a month. So that's the nature of the change. The second thing that is really interesting is that really at the top end, if you look at professionals and the most affluent folks, the consumption that you see on the network with them is actually lower than the consumption that you see at the bottom end.
Why do you think that is?
And I think that's simply because of the fact that pricing has come down. And because pricing is down for a lot of these folks, particularly migrant labor, maybe young people, this is the source of entertainment. The consumption of video, for example, on our network is now almost 65 to 70% of all the data that's being consumed is just on video.
Online video.
And this is the source of entertainment. I think the one thing that I would say is a negative in all of this is that the penetration amongst women is still low. Right. When compared to what we're seeing amongst men.
Are you seeing a change in that trajectory?
Because it is beginning to change, but it's still seriously under indexed compared to men.
Got it. And so let's take maybe let's start with the women point that you made. What's holding women back? I mean, based on you all obviously have lots of programs focused on getting more women online. What are the real barriers?
Firstly, what has changed in the last couple of years is that because data pricing has come down so sharply. People used to be a little wary about using data because they didn't quite understand the way they would be billed for it. And I think that's what's changed, and which is what's led to a lot of people sort of experimenting with different kinds of applications and so on and so forth, and that's led to consumption. When it comes specifically to women, I think part of it is to do with just their perceived fear of the smartphone, and therefore their inability or their let's say, inertia to actually shift there. And the other, I think, is the sorts of applications that need to be, I think, a little bit more tailored to what will drive growth. We've tried several experiments. We've run a lot of educational programs, both physically reaching women as well as doing it through digital means. But we haven't seen the needle move dramatically, so it's much more organic and secular in terms of growth.
Okay. And what about rural? Are you seeing, or maybe not rural, but tier 3, tier 4, tier 5
Yeah,
cities?
I think we're beginning to see that. I mean, till now, if you look at the penetration of markets like the cities, the southern markets, Karnataka, Andhra, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, Punjab, Jammu Kashmir, Northeast, these are up about 35 to 40% penetration. But if you look at markets like Bihar, UP, Madhya Pradesh, parts of Rajasthan, your penetration is still 15 to 18%, but has begun to grow. And one of the things that we see is that when you get to penetration levels of 18, 20%, you start seeing a sharper...
Is that the inflection point?
Yes, I think
there
is an inflection point there.
Okay, got it. Now, on the consumption per user per month, 8.5, 9 gigabytes is just phenomenal, right? Where does it, how high can it go?
Well, 8.5 to 9 gigabytes...
There are 24 hours in a day, so
I know.
Theoretically,
8.5 to 9 gigabytes is, consumption in the US, for example, in the AT&T network is about 7.5
that's
gigabytes.
Right, exactly.
So, India is now at the cutting edge of data consumption on the mobile. I think part of it is also to do with fixed line penetration, fixed broadband penetration being low in India. This is the only means to actually consume data, consume the magic of the internet. I think there could be some upside still. This could settle at about 10, 11 gigabytes. Also depends on, the quality of video and all of the improvements and the quality of the devices as they start getting better. Some of that could rise. But we see when it gets to about 8, 9 gigabytes, you're not seeing growth anymore for those on the average.
Right. Got it. Now, so that's what's happened in the last 12, 18 months. As you look at the next 2 or 3 years, what could change from here? It sounds like consumption per user per month may not go from 8 to 18, right?
Yeah.
What are the kinds of things that we should expect as you look at some of the emerging user behaviors?
I think that you're seeing roughly around 8 to 10 million new smartphones getting added. So we will see from 300 odd million, this will get to about 500 million by 2020. I think you're beginning to see device. It's interesting that in India you see devices between the price of, let's say, 4,000 to 6,000 rupees, smartphones at 4,000 to 6,000 rupees. Unlike most other consumer markets where the lowest price points tend to be the highest in terms of volumes, the 4,000 to 6,000 rupee price points are the lowest in terms of volumes, just about 5 to 6% of volumes. It's the price point between 6,000 and 10,000, which is really significantly larger, simply because the device is aspirational. People love to actually flaunt it, and therefore they stretch their budgets to buy a better quality device. I think what you will see over the next couple of years is certainly consumption continuing to grow. I think voice and video will be really the key. Video, of course, given that it's much easier to use, and voice because a lot of people now coming into the internet, particularly in markets like Bihar, UP, Madhya Pradesh, and so on, will do most of the stuff on their device, ideally through voice. And so voice, I think, will be the killer application.
Yeah, and this morning we were talking about how we are seeing explosive growth in voice, right? Voice search queries are growing 200+% and so on. Let's now maybe shift gears to, you talked about smartphones and affordable smartphones. Over the last year, we seem to be seeing this reasonably explosive growth in connected feature phones, right?
Yeah.
I'd love to get your thoughts on, is this real? How big can it get? How are you thinking about it from an Airtel standpoint?
Yeah.
Feature phone versus smartphone, what's going on?
I think we are beginning to see, I would say probably around, we've seen about 30, 35 million connected feature phones now. These are obviously low-priced phones, about 1,500 small devices. But people who buy it consume 5 to 6 gigabytes of data a month, so it's clearly beginning to see some traction. I think we're watching the space closely. At this point in time, the connected feature phones that have been launched have come at a very significant subsidy. Our view is that we would much rather see low-cost smartphones and smartphones actually push ahead. I know you guys are looking at Android Go as a way to actually come in with a lower-priced smartphone. We would like to see that growing because I think that's really where the future is. So this could be an interim point between feature phones and smartphones before it actually translates into genuine smartphones. The current price of these feature phones, landed price in India is about 2,400 rupees. And at 2,500 rupees, at that price, the difference between that and a smartphone is a couple of thousand rupees. But however, if you get the connected feature phone down to 1,500 rupees, which is what Reliance Jio has done, then clearly you're seeing a significant uptake. But that comes with a big subsidy bill. In our case, we already have 200 million customers with a feature phone. And the large part of the usage there, 60, 70% of the usage is still voice.
Right, got it. Okay, so let's now shift gears to digital marketing.
Yeah.
You know, with 350 million connected smartphone users, how has marketing at Airtel changed? Rajiv's going to be here in a little while, but
I think
we'd love to kind of,
Rajiv will be better to answer that
from a CEO standpoint, I mean, is digital relevant? Digital marketing. You know, I have to always ask him that. You know, ex-Unilever.
I think, Rajan, what we've seen is, you know, I'm staggered to see that today of the marketing budgets that we spend on, you know, on media and so on and so forth, about 45% of spend is actually going on digital.
45% of your total ad spend is now digital.
Today it's on digital, and that includes performance marketing plus digital. And you know, and what's really happening is that because we've got a bunch of services. For example, we have Wink, which is our music service. We've got Airtel TV, and then of course we got the Airtel brand. All of this, along with what we're trying to do online, which is to drive recharges and payments online. A disproportionate part of the customer cohorts that actually matter in these cases are reached through digital. So TV, I think, is not still going away. It still, you know, still reaches 750, 800 million people. But I would say digital is now really seriously important at 300, 350 million people, with almost a 12 to 14% incremental reach that it delivers. Because in
so you're getting up to 14% incremental reach.
Yeah, and we see that because I think there's some parts of the consumer group which have begun to cut the cord. Yeah. And so television is not as important to them. They don't probably watch it. And so this is becoming more and more material. So I would say the nature of marketing has changed. One of the things that we've been asking ourselves is that we have 350 million customers. What can we do to actually talk to our own customer base? And we've tried some really interesting experiments to use the power of our own retail base as well as our own customer base to drive downloads and you know, our own services and our products. And we've been quite surprised as to how much we've been able to get just through using the power of our own customer base. So one of the things we're doubling down now is on a platform that we're creating called Customer 360, which is really looking at the customer as one across all of the things they do on the network and try to identify what we can do to intervene at different points in time.
Yeah, because you've got a massive owned and operated network in sort of internet parlance, right?
Yeah.
So you're beginning to leverage that as well. So what worries you about digital marketing? You know, I mean, obviously it seems to be working. You've moved a significant part of your spend towards digital, but what are the things that still, you know, you kind of worry about, or do you? I mean, maybe you don't, but.
I think that you know, one of the things that we do tend to see a lot of is it's effective for a short period of time, but it tends to be gamed, and so as a consequence, some of the money tends to get wasted. And I think we need to get much sharper, working with, you know, companies like yours, Facebook, and so on and so forth, to really cut the gaming and really be much more focused on effective yield. Yeah. And I think the way that we measure this across an omni-channel perspective becomes increasingly important in that in the fight for the dollar across these different mediums. So I think that's the one thing that I would say.
So really measurement, right?
Better. Yes.
And a video you can't watch is not really a video.
Yeah, absolutely.
You won't get into that, but you know, anyways. So what about TV versus online video? I mean, how do you think about, I mean, when you think about your own marketing strategies, right? How do you think about TV versus online video? Because online video reaches 250 million plus today, right? At scale, almost on a monthly for sure, and daily it's well above 200 now. How do you think about that? When would you use online video for brand building? Yeah. So for performance, I got it, right? So performance digital clearly works. And
I think we're seeing, for example, today, I mean, we have our own platform, which is Airtel TV. We have around 60 million users, about 25 million monthly actives. And one of the things we're beginning to see is that, actually it's been really surprising to me, is that this is a platform that has about 350 live TV channels, around 10,000 movies, a bunch of exclusive shows, and done through alliances with many partners. One of the things that's been really, really surprising to me is the amount of consumption that's actually happening on live TV on the mobile screen. I would not have imagined that the consumption that we're seeing, 80% of the consumption on our platform is live TV on the mobile screen.
Live TV on the mobile.
Live TV on mobile. Right. The other thing that we're seeing increasingly is much more niche content getting consumed. So it's not the mass stuff, but it's really niche and really understanding individual small segments of customers and what they consume is becoming increasingly important, not just for marketing, but also for the kind of content that needs to be on the platform. So I would say online video is becoming increasingly important. It genuinely delivers incremental reach if you're able to target it in a much more customized manner.
Got it, got it. Now let's shift gears. I mean, you've obviously been in the middle of a storm for the last year and a half or so. When do you get back into calm waters? When do you think, or maybe you just like the storm so much you don't want to get back into
I think
calm waters?
It has been a roller coaster ride in the last couple of years. I think when I look at it from our perspective, this was an industry that had eight players. Not so long ago, it had 14 players and came down to 8 a couple of years ago. If you look at most markets around the world, large telecom markets or large markets, typically they have between 2 and 4 players. So an 8-player market is clearly an unsustainable situation. And I must give full credit to the new entrant, Reliance Jio, which came in and actually helped enforce the consolidation. I think through that process of consolidation, we saw many companies shut down. We saw a big merger that's happening between Vodafone and Idea, number 2 and number 3 player. So in a way, it's been a massive structural shift. I think the silver lining in all of this is, I would say, number 1, is that we're down from an 8-player market to a 3-player market, effectively. And BSNL with about 4 to 5% share, but 95% of the market, 3 players, 1.3 billion Indians to serve, is a very, very promising place to be. The second thing I would say is that given the health of the sector, from a demand side, you're seeing massive surges in volume. We were consuming on our network, we were doing about 2 petabytes of data a day. Today we're up to about 27, 28 petabytes. And
2 petabytes to 27 petabytes?
In just 2 years.
Yeah, right.
So it's a 14x jump. Now, the flip side to this is that this requires massive capex. So we have put in almost, if you look back over the last, let's say 3-4 years, we used to on an average, in a real peak year, we would be investing about 14 to 15,000 crores of capex. The last 2 years, we've invested 24,000 crores each year. So this year has been 24,000, the last year was 24,000. The spectrum investment over the last 5 years is about 100,000 crores. So capex and spectrum investments have gone up dramatically. And the reason is simple. With this kind of demand, you need to keep supply going, which means you need to create capacity. So we are really doubling down on creating capacity. We have our fair share of challenges in terms of network performance sometimes because of this rapid growth. See, in a secular growth environment, you can tune the networks very easily. But in a rapid growth, you've got to then refarm your spectrum, you've got to put out the capex, you have to continuously tune the networks. And these are the places where we have had our fair share of challenges. But I would say that in these 2 years, despite all of the challenges, I think we've held well. We've actually grown market share in the last couple of years. So even in a market which has been very turbulent, it has come at the expense of revenue. So we're dealing with a more compressed revenue pool in the market. But I look at the silver lining and say, it's a 3-player market, 1.3 billion Indians. When this kind of ends, if we come out with a good position in terms of market share, I think we're in a pretty solid wicket.
I think if a competitor puts $30 billion into the ground and gives away the service for free, in that context, to actually gain market share and be where you guys are, I think we should give the Airtel team a huge round of applause.
Thank you.
So last question, Gopal. So in the room we have CEOs, CMOs, digital practitioners, as well as many CEOs of agencies. What advice, given especially you're thinking about your current role, but since you spend so much time at Unilever and in consumer industries, many of them are, I think, working through how to do more with digital or how to do it, do it right with digital. It'd be great to give some, what are your thoughts on what advice you might give? Not that you're in the advice-giving business, but what advice would you give, leaders like the ones we have in the room about how to think about digital, how to leverage digital?
I wouldn't be arrogant to sort of give any advice, but what I would say is some of the lessons that at least I've learned in trying to move Airtel into a more digital company, and not just from a digital marketing standpoint, but a digital company per se. I think number 1 is, you have to really be clear about the problem you're solving. And often what happens is that, you get carried away with the jargon and all of that stuff. The word digitization is a great word, but unless you're clear about what problem you're solving, how you apply digitization to the business problem that you have, I think is one of the biggest lessons that at least I've learned. The second thing that I would say is that, it has to start with the customer, which means that you've got to your experience has to be simple, it's got to be intuitive. The second part is that whatever you do must be scalable. And the third is that whatever you do must be agile and flexible. I'll give you an example. One of the things that we've struggled with is we used to get customers calling us into the call centers a lot, because of various reasons.
I was one of them.
You're one of them, okay. What we've seen in the last 18 to 20 months, Rajan, is almost an 80% drop, 75% drop.
Oh, really?
In the number of customers calling us. And the reason is that we've actually simplified our processes. So we've redesigned some of our processes, we've simplified our processes, and then we've tried to, through that redesign, apply digital thinking into it. And I think
like self-support and all that.
It's not just self-support. I'll give you an example. We've created a platform called Decision Tree. So what we did was actually looked at, the several reasons why customers call us, 50, 60, 70 reasons. And we then went through this and actually created intelligence at the call center agent to actually answer those questions to the customer even before they actually made
So enabling the agents better.
And predictive intelligence.
Right.
And we then used that platform that started out in a very small way, and it's now become almost the entire way we work to actually translate that into the app, which is the front-end experience. But it forced us to redesign some of our, for example, pricing. We had a bewildering array of complex tariffs in the industry. I think we're now down to about 8 to 10 price plans. And
That's
that
it?
has
Only 8 to 10?
dramatic change. And that's led to a serious reduction in the number of calls that we're getting. So I think, starting with the problem that you're trying to solve, I think becomes very important. The second lesson I would say is that, for our business, we have a large customer base. We have 325 million customers. We have 1.5 million retailers. So the way we like to think about it is what platforms can we create to use these assets in order to build some other services on top of it. So for example, we're using our retail footprint, 1.5 million retailers, where people come and pay. We're the biggest cash collection machine through prepaid recharges. So where people come and pay, what can we do to use that channel to actually pay for other things? So for example, now we've tied up with a whole bunch of electricity companies, water companies, so all utility payments can be made at the point of sale. That's an example of actually using that to create a platform. We're looking at, for example, how do we bring devices, tie up with whether it's logistics companies, it's banks, it's lenders, to actually give a customer a contextual loan on the fly and then ship out a device bundled with a plan.
Right.
And that requires the entire telco, in a way, to be opened up through APIs to ally with a whole bunch of others. So I think increasingly we're beginning to see this as a game of alliances using the data, using the platform that we have, which is our customer base and our distribution access.
Terrific. So basically focus on big problems and how to use digital, call centers being one, thinking about new products, right? In either digital, in your case, digital products or digital-enabled new products.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. Well, thank you, Gopal, for your time.
Thank you.
Let's give Gopal a big round of applause.
Thank you. Thanks, Rajan. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajan and Gopal, for that engrossing chat and sharing those insights. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage Rajiv Mathrani, Chief Brand and Online Officer, Bharti Airtel.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rajiv Mathrani, and I have the privilege of working with the brand and online team at Airtel. As you would have noticed, Gopal and Rajan just had a conversation. I have been given the dubious pleasure of speaking right after my CEO has just spoken. Now that he's made my job a little difficult, I feel it's a normal day. And on this normal day, I'll take the opportunity of sharing with you 2 Airtel case studies where we experimented with new digital tools and achieved tremendous success. But before I do that, let me share a quick landscape of what the digital world at Airtel looks like. Again, referring back to the chat you guys just heard, about digitizing a scale organization like Airtel. The reality is that digital Airtel by itself is a mammoth organization. Not by the number of employees, but just by the size of business itself. Almost 30% of our revenues are now online, which is upwards of 10,000 crores. We have more than 50 million monthly active consumers across My Airtel app, Wink Music, and Airtel TV. And our digital acquisition machinery has been growing at a scorching pace of over 80% over the last 2 years. So how do we manage this scale? We manage it by keeping digital at the heart of our marketing. This brings me to a very interesting conversation which I once had with a new colleague. I was meeting this colleague, let's call him Ajay. So I go, "Hi, I'm Rajiv. I work in marketing." He goes, "I'm Ajay. I work in performance marketing." Now that didn't sound right. Did it mean that all along I was working in marketing teams that were non-performing? That was almost offensive, right? For everybody who started their career and performance marketing didn't exist. Surely he didn't mean that. What it really meant, that now we know what portion of our marketing is not performing. And that is exactly what digital brings to marketing. It brings accountability enabled by measurement. And knowing that has made us move more than 40% of our marketing budgets to digital marketing. But has that really helped? Where is the proof that that's worked? Well, it has helped us 12 times over to increase our efficiency. And how do we know this? How did we get around to measuring this? By conducting the first hybrid global cross-marketing study, which included all platforms and publishers, also television. What was so different in this study, and why was it done earlier, is just the sheer scale of that study. It was not based on claim data alone. It had an audio listening tool and a web panel that confirmed whether Airtel ads were served to these respondents. This was absolutely solid proof of what was claim data. It probably is the most authentic cross-media study done globally. And it reassured us that we were right in shifting half our budgets onto digital marketing. Now I'll take you through those two case studies where we deployed these very budgets and created some great success stories. The first such story is of My Airtel app, where we deployed what you could call pipeline marketing. Note that with the scale we had, we needed to get the next set of consumers who were just about getting familiar with internet use. Consumers first saw a very simple proposition for online recharges. They then searched what they saw, and we conquered what they searched, giving us more than 40 million users across our web and app properties. Search queries went up by 20%, and our online payments penetration increased 2x. Allow me to take one of those 40 million people and share this story from the lens of that one person and how digital marketing helps us transform user behavior. That person is Bobby. Bobby has a great career going for her. She loves premium branded products, but always buys them from supermarkets. She's not yet used to doing online transactions. So we had to reach out to Bobby to create awareness. How do we do that? We did that with TrueView for Action, when it was launched as a beta product in India. We usually invest in YouTube for reach and frequency build-up campaigns, and this time we thought we would experiment with TrueView for Action because it promised conversions. Let me play a short video that we used to create awareness.
Knock knock. एयरटेल का प्रीपेड प्रॉमिस सिर्फ 448 में सबको मिलेगा, सब कुछ मिलेगा। 448 में अनलिमिटेड कॉलिंग, रोमिंग, एसएमएस और रोज का 1 GB डेटा for 70 days.
Now this brings me to a very interesting point. We all love a magnum opus in advertising. That 60-second, 30-second commercial that is created with immense dexterity and passion. They sure have their rightful place when you need impact. But here we have these 11-seconders and 6-seconders, which we politely call as hard-hitting. Guess what? They are, because they deliver. We not only got reach and frequency, but also started getting recharges, which proved that TrueView was capable of delivering action. So we were encouraged, very encouraged. We collaborated with the Google team even more, this time to increase Bobby's consideration. Note that she was by now vaguely aware of these recharges, but Bobby had many queries on her mind. So we helped her solve those queries through multiple how-to videos to check bundle validity, data usage, and how to recharge videos. And it worked. These 11-seconders that were always on eventually got Bobby to cross over the fence and do her first online recharge. And that's how we transformed user behavior through an absolutely full funnel approach, right from driving awareness to consideration to chasing them till conversion. Let me now walk you through another immensely successful experiment that we attempted. This was for our video content app, Airtel TV. Now, your mobile is truly becoming your first screen. Easily demonstrated for a portion of this audience right here, right now. For some of you, your mobile right now is your first screen, and these presentations, this stage, is actually your second screen. Airtel too wanted a stake of the first screen, and we launched our campaign around Airtel TV just to get that. What you see here are the pre and post campaign results. It's a rare result. Rare because it's not about just multiplying growth. Rare because it is about growing by 3x with the costs actually going down. So how did we achieve this? How did we make this story happen? Through mass personalization. We will view this campaign through the lens of another user. Let's call him Arindam. By the way, both Bobby and Arindam are part of my team, and I'm using the liberty to use their names. So Arindam comes from Calcutta, but is based in Delhi. He loves watching sports. He's living here alone, and he watches sports with his friends at house parties. How do we reach Arindam? How do we tell him and convey to him the message of Airtel TV? One way to do that would be the usual spray and pray message. Spray the message on mass media and pray that it reaches Arindam. We spoke to the Google team. We thought we'll try out an experiment with a sniper approach. We used Google's custom intent tool. We personalized Arindam's context through 3 custom layers. First, search. Served a creative that's relevant to what Arindam has searched. It could be cricket, football, tennis. Use search query audience targeting. Number 2, consumption. Took signals from Arindam's consumption behavior. Arindam already had a cricket app installed, so we served him a creative that would have cricket context. Third custom layer, location. Arindam is on the road. The match is about to begin. In the next half an hour, he's stuck in traffic. He's frustrated that he may not be able to see the match and may not be able to reach for the house party, which he's dying to do. So you serve him relevant communication. Let us see one such.
All set for the finals? But stuck in traffic? Watch cricket live with over 300 TV channels on your mobile. Download the Airtel TV app.
Again, very short, simple, but contextual. And more importantly, combined with cross-pollination of Google data platforms, Android, search, user behavior. All in all, Arindam was one of the many millions who made Airtel TV the #1 downloaded app on Play Store. And that is no mean feat. What is very important to note is that these digital experiments need not be new tools which you would be shy of experimenting with. They can be improvisations of existing tools. For example, a lot of you would have used UAC for your app install campaigns. But that's not enough. We identified for Airtel TV high-value threshold events for sustainability and long-term value. For example, it was not the app install that we optimized on. We realized that it is the first stream of content that made people stick. Hence, optimizing on cost per install was not good enough. We optimized on streams. The result, streams went up, costs went down. We had sustained active users who converted to a loyal base. So what's next? Where do we go from here? We have seen 3 stages in our digital journey at Airtel. We first tried it to build reach frequency. It worked. And that is what it was essentially used for. We then have moved and crossed second stage, which is to convert and start using digital tools for user action. We are now at stage 3. Our next challenge is to have the ability to have one consumer view. How can we achieve that? We are trying 2 new tools. The first one, 100% programmatic. Why? Multiple overlaps exist in digital channels, especially for the native digital consumers. Plus, the non-natives do not get enough reach. 100% programmatic can do both. It is a single frequency management platform, irrespective of the publisher. So it helps you control and cap the frequency. You don't frustrate or irritate digitally native consumers who may have already got the reach and you cap their frequency. You use that money instead to expand your reach. We got 25% efficiency in our first attempt at it. Second, we are also going omni-channel. How did we do that? Hard work, painstaking, but worth it. We listed all Airtel stores on Google Maps. All our campaigns now mandatorily have location extensions, be it brand, performance, or search, powered by 100% listing. With online exposure, the propensity to convert offline is 3x. We've understood the attribution of O2O. What we now need to get at is to use O2O to build business. What's key in all of these examples, experiments, leading innovation, etc.? The key is to always experiment, and then when you start tasting success, do it with massive, massive scale. Do it with close collaboration with your media teams and the Google team. I, for one, have been extremely lucky to have a fabulous team which has collaborated strongly with the Google team. I really, really hope you do get a chance to achieve that. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajiv, for sharing Airtel's incredible digital journey with us. And next, we have the pleasure of introducing Managing Director, GTM and Operation, Google APAC, Mel Silva.
Hi there, everyone. How's the energy level in the room post-lunch? Couple of presentations in. Yeah? Good? Good? Well, it's wonderful to be here in Delhi today at this great event. I've been so inspired all morning. My name is Mel Silva, and I lead the go-to-market strategy and operations team for Google in APAC. I'm really excited to be here today to share with you some great examples of how we can help you drive better results with online video. So as you heard from Rajan earlier, India's media and landscape is evolving and growing rapidly with the rise of voice, vernacular, and video. Online video is now 75% of all mobile traffic. But at the heart of this online video revolution in India is YouTube. And YouTube now reaches more than 245 million people every month. Now, that's a staggering number. It's showing no signs of slowing down. And when we look at that number on a daily active viewer level, it's growing at 100% year on year. So it's truly phenomenal growth. But in addition to that, we're also seeing some fantastic creators coming online. You know, in 2016, we were here and we were reporting to you that we had 22 creators, Indian creators, that each had more than 1 million subscribers each. Today, in 2018, just 2 years later, that number is now more than 300. It's completely staggering, and it's just going to fuel the ecosystem even more. But when I talk about YouTube, it is a delicate ecosystem that has users, creators, and advertisers. And for YouTube to be an incredible platform, all three of those parties have to thrive. And so today, I'm really excited to be here to share with you some great new tools and processes that we've put in place to help advertisers really take advantage and grow their business on YouTube. So, in this really complex and fragmented media world, you know, you've told us what you really want. You need to achieve your marketing objectives in a simple and effective way. You've told us this time and time again, and what we heard from you is that you want to reach the audiences that matter effectively, but you also want to drive business results across the entire marketing funnel, from awareness to consideration, and all the way through to action and ultimately sales. So, let's dive a little bit deeper. As I said, we've spent a lot of time listening to you, to our customers, and we heard you loud and clear. The planning tools and processes that we had were not ideal. So we looked to rethink this and really come up with a tool that helps understand your objectives, was a lot simpler, but also balanced the need for granularity. So today, I'm super pleased to announce Reach Planner, which is a campaign planning tool that sits inside Google Ads and is a really great supplement to all of your other agency planning tools. It helps you plan reach-based video campaigns on YouTube. So put really simply, it's an easy-to-use dashboard that sits inside Google Ads and helps you provide reach and format recommendations for your campaigns. You can also then download this data and integrate it into your own tools. But let's talk a little bit about this notion of simplicity and granularity. So a large part of what my job is at Google is to sit in the APAC region and work closely with our product teams in Mountain View to make sure that the advertising products that come down the line are relevant for marketers in the region. And so I'm pleased to announce today that when we looked at India and how we were going to best serve you, the vibrancy and the diversity and the richness that is India really made us rethink how we did that. So today, I'm pleased to announce that we're now allowing you to plan across 36 sub-regions and the 6 top metros, which is a huge leap in terms of granularity. This is truly India first. Never around Google have we allowed planning at this sort of granularity. So it's an incredible achievement. Finally, if you're familiar with planning on TV, you can now plan for TV-alike kind of clusters. So you can look at mega cities or Hindi-speaking markets, but you can also start to unlock some really advanced audience capabilities and plan across multiple formats and advanced audiences. Which really brings me to my next point, which is about reaching the audiences that matter for your business. So reach is important, and YouTube's got plenty of reach. We've all heard that a lot of times today. But when you think about the magic of Google and the magic of YouTube, it's really about unlocking the magic of intent. And this is about being able to talk to the audiences that are looking for you when they are looking for you. So with the help of Google's insights and tools, plus 7 properties across the web that all have over 1 billion users, we can really start to form a picture and unlock the magic of intent, and we're making that available to you. So let me show you what I mean with an example of an audience that I'm sure many people in the room are interested in today, mums. So let's say you're in the business of selling baby wipes. Now, I personally have an 8-year-old, I'm still buying baby wipes. But let's say you're in that business. How do we as Google help you figure out what the intent of that mum is? Well, we start to get a sense of that intent when someone's searching for how to put the baby to sleep, when they're downloading mum apps and parenting apps, when they're watching cartoons and vlogs, and when they visit the daycare centre every day. That really helps us form a beautiful, rich picture of the intent of this mum. And of course, we do all of this in a privacy-safe, anonymous and aggregated way that respects all of our users, because that is paramount to us. But what this means for you is that you can unlock the magic of intent and audiences like never before. Beyond just mums based on a demographic, you can now find mums-to-be, new dads, grandparents, and maybe even people like me who've got the 8-year-old who are still buying the baby wipes. But this rich understanding of intent that helps you go beyond demographics really helps you unlock these audiences in the moments that matter and help you truly drive business results. So for you as marketers, what this means is that you now have access to the Advanced Audiences Suite. And Rajiv did an amazing job of selling this to you. He was part of the beta testing for this. But it's a unique and anonymised signal-based audience tool that allows you to really build tailored segments specific to your business. It's with this customization that you can be really confident that you're reaching the audiences that matter regardless of someone's evolving interests. So, for example, if you are trying to build broad awareness, you might use things like detailed demographics, which is your core demographics, but with some additional signals like parental or marital status or education status. To drive consideration, you can start to use a range of solutions like life events and affinities. And these are based on custom needs and interests. So another example, let's choose the getting married life event. If you choose this audience, you know you're going to find people who are in the market for food, beauty, honeymoons and travel. So these are great audience tools to really help you reach the audiences that matter. But now that you've reached those audiences, how can we really help you drive business results across the funnel, from awareness to consideration and all the way through to sales? Today, YouTube is a truly full funnel solution. And you'd already know that YouTube's pretty great for driving awareness and consideration, but now with TrueView for Action, you can really have a full funnel solution that drives results both online and offline. So first, let's take a look at using YouTube to drive results online. You can use video ads to drive any sort of action that's important to your business, so leads or referrals, but it's especially powerful and really comes to life when you bundle it with custom intent. And this is going to enable you to reach people who are right on the brink of making that purchase. So let's take a look at a case study, an early adopter in India who's seen success with that combination. So Axis Bank had a challenge of increasing the number of account openings for a new account that had really limited brand awareness. So they used custom intent plus affinity-based audiences and really based the keywords on the product offers that they had running on their app at the time. So for example, there were keywords like fixed deposit, ASAP, recharge, bill payments, book my show offer, Wink music offer, and the big basket offer. So by running TrueView for Action ads, coupled with reaching the audiences that were built specifically for them, they were able to drive an 89% lift in ad recall and a 93% increase in branded searches. But that's all great. The best of all, they were able to drive a 30% increase in account openings. Now that's a direct link from this online campaign to an online action. Now, they're truly phenomenal results. But now let's take it one step further and talk about how YouTube can drive results offline as well. Because while driving online actions is important, for those of you who have a physical location, a store, a presence, driving offline is also important to you. So now you can direct users to a physical store, and you can use our new store visits for YouTube measurement tool to really understand the impact that YouTube is having on your overall conversions. In fact, globally, we've run about 55 studies with Nielsen, And we can tell you that 70% of the YouTube campaigns drove a significant lift in offline conversions. So we have a really great recent example right here from India, from Reliance Trends, who was looking to drive offline retail with online video. So Trends wanted to drive more footfalls actually into the store. They were having an end-of-season sale, they were offering 50% off, and they really wanted to try and drive people into the stores. They used TrueView for Action and these advanced audiences, and they got incredible results. So they've been measuring the store visits as a result of this campaign, and they were able to show that there is one store walk-in for every 100 video views. Now, think about the sheer number of video views that you can drive and the ability to target those audiences. That's a store visit rate of 1%. Truly phenomenal results. So, I've talked to you about some great advances in planning, in the ability to reach the audiences that matter to you, and the ability to drive online and offline results with YouTube. So you're probably wondering, well, Mel, what do I do now? The first thing is to go and talk to your Google sales team about how we can help you design a custom audience that's specific to your business. Remember, YouTube is now a full funnel solution. We are really excited to work with you to design campaigns that help drive online or offline actions. So don't just take my word for it. I'd like you to take a look at this short video and hear what some of our customers have to say. But thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the day. See you later.
Please come in.
We see platforms like YouTube exploding in India. It's impacting the way brands are transacting with consumers.
We knew that we wanted to give something which could touch the hearts of our Indian customers. And the feeling which has been generated through this campaign is just mind-blowing. Globally, for Hyundai, YouTube is one of the go-to platforms for all our mass and niche requirements.
This is Sushant Singh Rajput. You're watching Asian Paints Wear the Hardest.
1, 2, 3.
YouTube gave us a platform for a more sharper targeting. We reached close to 16 million of the targeted audience, and there's really no other way to engage with them powerfully.
If somebody's looking at performance, you should look at YouTube to drive very hard business ROI numbers. We saw almost a 30 to 35% bump up in organic and direct conversions, which to my mind was a phenomenal outcome.
YouTube helped us to ensure sharper targeting towards Airtel consumers and minimize wastage. Efficiency, targeting and impact opportunities is what Google drives for Airtel.
Thank you, Mel, for those exciting announcements and telling us how YouTube is driving business results. And now please welcome Managing Director, Kantar Millward Brown, South Asia, Vishik Talwar.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm pretty excited being here because I bring you the story of a consolidated picture where online videos have come of age as a brand building medium. By the way, I'm Vishik Talwar. I head Kantar Millward Brown for this region. We have been establishing, or we have become the industry standards as far as multimedia campaign evaluations are concerned. Through cross-media, that is one of our tools. As the complexity in the market increased, as the fragmentation of media happened, the need to isolate the impact by various medium was becoming more and more required by the industry, and that's exactly where cross-media stepped in. It's a single source measurement for all the media. We all know the problems of claimed recall, so this is not based on claimed recall, it's on the opportunity to see measurement. Of course, coming from a market research agency, it has to be robustly designed and provide us a good sample coverage. We have done about more than 50 studies in the recent past, and we've covered almost all the categories possible, small and big brands equally. Interestingly, CPG has the lion's share, so it's not that the CPGs are not using us or they're not relevant for this medium. They're equally relevant here. And what we are here for is I'll show you this fair amount of consolidated learnings that we have. You've heard a few cases with Rajiv. You'll hear some more cases later on. But this is a consolidated view of all the studies that we have done and what is the place that the online video has. Well, how do we measure the market effectiveness in these campaign evaluations? Reach obviously will be a part of that, including the incremental reach, including what's the interplay of various medium with each other. We also equally measure the brand side, what's the impact on the brand and the various KPIs. Three main areas that we measure, which is saliency, which is nothing else but mental availability, imagery, which is what does the brand stand for in the minds of the consumers, and consideration, which is the predisposition towards the brand. So these are the key three metrics of brand impact. Moving on to what we have learned and what is the consolidated view of the cross-media studies that we've done over a period of time, starting with what do we have to say about reach and what different mediums are how different mediums are contributing to overall building the reach for a brand or a campaign. No surprises here, TV is the highest reached medium, 86%. But interestingly, again, no surprises here, online video is giving us an incremental reach of 8%. That's over and above what TV reaches. And more importantly, it reaches where TV does not reach, which is amongst the less frequent viewers of television. Maybe a couple of years down the line, the good old statement or the good old muhavra can be brought to light, which is jahan na pahunche TV, wahan pahunche OV. Sorry. So jahan na pahunche TV, wahan pahunche OV as an online video will be very, very true. Just a couple of years down the line, where the way the market is evolving currently. Interestingly, TV does reach 86%, as we saw earlier, but online video is reaching 37%. Almost half of it is being reached. Not surprising, the kind of penetration numbers we've been hearing, the kind of news we've been hearing till now, the extent of views of online video. It's not at all surprising that 37% is being reached through online video. If we now compare it with regards to investment that's being put there, the contrast comes out very, very clearly against a 5% investment compared to a 60% for TV. We are achieving almost half the reach that television does. So clearly a 5-time more efficient medium to build our reach for online video. Moving on to impact on, or brand impact insights, which we just said that there were 3 key indicators. Just quick look at how does the studies have shared and what kind of impact we have there and what's the build-up. Again, in terms of impact share, again, nothing surprising. Television has the maximum impact at 38%, but 1/3 of that is being achieved by online video as well, 14%. And again, if we contrast that with investment share, which is just 5% compared to 60%, again, it's almost a 3 times more efficient medium to build the impact at an overall level. A deep dive into specifically consideration, which is measure of predisposition. The story repeats itself. You have the impact, which is higher for TV, but if you look at the efficiency, online video is far more efficient in delivering the same impact. And I can go on through all the other indicators as well, and the story would exactly be the same. We are at least doing 3 times more efficient impact through online video. To sum it up, I think the time has come for the online video to become an integral part. It has come of age as far as a channel for building brand is concerned. It's time that the plans do integrate, because it's standing for something distinct. It is able to provide certain distinct advantages over the additional other mediums that are available to us. If it has to become an integral part of media planning, then there need to be some guidelines on how we can bring it in and what are these guidelines. So we just looked at a couple of them. We saw that if on an average frequency of 3, the success on an online platform in terms of brand lifts or brand impact lifts is about 50%. So success, if measured as brand impact and a positive brand impact, then 50% of the campaigns have had a positive impact at an average of 3 or more. So clearly, if we're looking at more a TV kind of campaign with the top of online, I think this should be the minimum threshold, which is average frequency of 3 or more. Likewise, if it is a digital focused, then we are recommending about 5 or more average frequency, because that's where your success goes up to 70% in terms of positive uplift. Thus, to just sum up 3 key messages that I would like to leave behind. One is online videos can deliver significantly on the reach, and they do it more efficiently than television. They also significantly deliver on building the brand, and they also do it more efficiently than television. And if you are planning for an online video media plan, then our recommendation for a top-up over TV for online video is an average frequency of 3, and for a total digital or digital-focused campaign, the average frequency should be at least 5. Thank you, and have a good day.
Those were some very game-changing statistics. Thank you, Vishek. And now introducing Executive Director Home Care, HUL, and Vice President Home Care, Unilever South Asia, Priya Nair.
Hi, I think as I was introduced, I'm Priya Nair. Really excited to be here and share with you how we at HUL are reimagining our marketing in this new digital and connected world. As you heard, really, there's a paradigm shift that's happening in the internet landscape. I think you've been hearing this really all afternoon, and I think it is incredible the number of users who come online every year, and these are not now no longer the typical users that we used to have, which was the millennial male. It's now really we're seeing more women, we're seeing more rural consumers, and I think the explosion is incredible. As Rajan mentioned, it is just absolutely incredible that a country like ours stands on par with developed markets with 8 GB per day, per month, per subscriber. I think really what a change in just a few years that has happened. And I think 75% of all mobile traffic, as was mentioned, is online video. And I think very simply, as a consumer marketing company, it's quite clear. We have to be where our consumers are. And I think so simply, there is absolutely nothing except for our imagination that stops us in what we do on this medium. I think what I want to share with you is how, as HUL, we have at the core of our strategy been looking at this whole idea of winning in many Indias. If you look at India, and for all the marketeers or the publishers in the room, I think for all of us who live in India, we know that really India is not one India. Now this sounds super simple, but the truth is that we do very little about it. Think of a Tamil Nadu and think of an Uttar Pradesh. Think of the change, the difference in per capita income. Think of the difference in usage, habits, attitudes, and everything that happens in a Tamil Nadu and everything that happens in an Uttar Pradesh. And yet we market to India as really one India. And I think at the core of our strategy at HUL, what we've been doing is using our portfolio of brands and really taking our brands and creating relevant messaging for each of these different markets. And I think the digital ecosphere now allows us to do this at incredible scale. And I think hopefully I will show you through the examples that we have how we are now using data and intent and how this has become absolutely central to our evolution of our marketing strategies and how we're also building digital creatives to really strengthen our connection with consumers. So let me begin with first talking about data and really how we're using this for brand building. Data enables precision marketing at incredible scale. I think you would have all heard this, and it's quite an idiom right now, which is data is the new oil. And I think we all hear this, but the question is really, as marketers, what's the skill we're building to use, structure, and manage data? And I think that makes all the difference. Really, what's the skill that as marketers we build from our traditional marketing ecosystems to managing, structuring, using data? And what I hope to show you over our examples at HUL is what we are doing to move beyond demographic targeting to really leveraging intent, and how we now have the power to really deliver the right message at the right time to the right person, and how that drives business results and impact our business, and how we can now do this, and Gopal mentioned this, at incredible scale, because for a CPG company like Unilever, it would only make sense if we do this at great scale. So I really think that no longer is this space, about QSR companies or online marketers, but absolutely relevant for a big company, a CPG company like Unilever. So let me begin with sharing with you 3 examples where we want to showcase to you how we've used data and intent for our brand building. Let me begin with the first example, and I think this is one of our favorite examples. This is our brand Lakme, and I think using rich data signals, it is now possible for us to build precise audiences and target them. So very simply, we use search data. You can understand what consumers are looking for in their makeup routine, depending on the time of day, part of the week, and what's possible in terms of what we can do for consumers to really create contextual and relevant advertising. So, we are a consumer marketing company, so you will find all I talk about is consumers and what they're seeking and really what problem we're trying to solve for consumers. So let me take this Lakme example and show to you 3 videos and then talk to you about how these videos have been contextually done in a different manner. So can I have the videos? So this Monday mornings. You can see Wednesday afternoons looking for something different, and then partying. Yeah, so can we play the videos once again, just for everyone to see once again, if I can play the videos, please? Feeling the Monday blues, midweek madness taking over, and party all night, yeah? So I think 3 very different ways in which consumers are interfacing with Lakme, and what they look for, and really how you can talk to them becomes extremely different. With this example, we created 42 videos out of 1 master video at practically 0 extra cost, really, and got 40% better engagement. I think an incredible example of how you can really create a more contextual messaging for consumers. I think the second example I want to share with you is from our home and personal care portfolio. Some of our brands are heavily affected by weather, and we can use real-time signals to actually identify triggers that change consumer behavior and allow us to capture much more attention. So let me take this example of Pureit first. And really what you can see is in Chennai, if we can predict that there's a typhoid outbreak, how you can talk to consumers in a more relevant way versus cholera in another part of the country. And if you're talking in a context of something that's happening in real life in consumers' worlds, how much more relevant this is for consumers versus really a message which says, please buy Pureit, and because I do this, and da-da-da. So I think you can see how this is much more relevant. The same example really for Lifebuoy, where we do exactly the same and really use this data to really talk about flu in Noida, and you can be as targeted and as sharp as a city, or you could have it at a state. I think the results which we will put up really speak for themselves. I think these are best-in-class results we've seen on awareness, strong lifts in ad recall, and incredible conversions. In fact, on Pureit, we had an 8x better conversion versus a classic marketing campaign that we would do. So that's how impactful conversion is when you're doing it in a relevant way. The third example I want to share with you is what we've done with growing on our mass brands on YouTube. I think the sense in digital is it's great for niche brands, but not so great for big, mass, well-penetrated brands. And what we wanted to do is look at how the world of data can now help us really identify geographical opportunities, even for our large, mass, well-penetrated brands. And that's really what we did with our 4 brands, where we wanted to test the impact of digital versus our traditional medium. And we've seen fantastic results even for these iconic brands. We saw on an average of 8% higher spontaneous awareness and almost a 3 to 10x ROI in terms of the lifts for Fair & Lovely, Clinic Plus, Lifebuoy, Rin, and these are all big mass brands. I think an incredible example of how you can use the strength of digital to complement the traditional media and really win with consumers. I think the second part I want to talk about, and 2 messages if I want to land, this is the second message I would like to share, and I think it's about making for digital. I think we are in a situation where we tend to forget that consumers actually, attention of consumers is actually a reward and not a right. And therefore, consumers have a choice. And on digital, they exercise that choice. Yeah? So they can skip you, close you down, really scroll away from you. And therefore, making for digital and not just adapting or repurposing for digital is what we've learned is super important to actually ensuring campaign success. I think 3 parts of really making for digital. I think basic marketing principles remain unchanged. The first thing is you need to build something interesting. And digital is a canvas that unlocks an incredible possibility, not just in terms of data and intent, but also how you can tell stories. And the inherent part of marketing is storytelling and how you now use this medium differently and distinctly for storytelling. The other thing is capturing attention. I think many marketers in the room would agree with me that capturing attention on digital is a huge challenge. And we really need to rethink how we tell our stories, especially on the small mobile screen, very different from the large television screens which we're used to telling stories on. So I think a huge change in mindset and thinking are required for marketers, and we'll show you a lot of examples. And the third opportunity that digital provides is actually the building for the entire journey of consumers. Not just really talking about awareness, but trial, purchase, repeat purchase, and actually taking consumers through the entire journey on digital. And I think that's the other opportunity which the digital ecosystem provides, which our traditional brick and mortar ecosystem wouldn't provide. So I want to talk to you about 3 examples on this point of building for digital. Let's take a look at the first example. I think a lovely example from our Red Label brand. And let's first take a look at the video and then we can talk about it.
इस ad को skip करना आसान है, viral infection को नहीं. Watch the ad.
मैम वो क्वेश्चन पेपर्स.
रितु, हम स्कूल में किसी चीज को इग्नोर नहीं करते. अपने टीचर्स के.
I think a simple example, but really well done, which is really how do you break the fourth wall and talk to consumers. I think we'd often hear about this. I think too little is practiced. So if we can practice much more the art and possibility of what is possible on digital, I think huge impact in terms of what you can get out of it. So really, for me, it's about how do you start building stories which are relevant for digital versus building stories which are more generic and doing it in a manner that works on this ecosystem. I think the second example I want to share with you is our creative exploration that we've had on Pepsodent. On this, we actually worked with the Ignition Labs team at YouTube, and a really fantastic example of how we reimagined what the advertising should be on television versus what it should be on YouTube. And I'm going to first play for you the television ad and then play for you for the YouTube ad and talk about the differences between the two.
Gum bleeding. Keep ignoring it and you risk losing your tooth. Switch to Pepsodent Gum Care with Zinc technology, the advanced technology for relief from bleeding gum problems. Pepsodent Gum Care.
Can you play the YouTube commercial, please?
Gum bleeding. Keep ignoring it and you risk losing your tooth. 9 out of 10 consumers feel Pepsodent G reduces gum bleeding in 7 days. Switch to Pepsodent Gum Care with zinc technology, the advanced technology for relief from bleeding gum problems. Pepsodent Gum Care.
So I think there are simple, small differences, but I think each of them really relevant. The first is, in the first 5 seconds, you hear the proposition. Yeah, the brand is visible through the advertising. You see the search bar tool at the end of the advertising, and you hear 9 out of 10 consumers have a preference. I think these simple things in the way consumers process digital versus the way they process on broadcast mediums like television really make all the differences in the way we think of creatives for digital. I think the last example I want to show you in this space is a bumper ad. Let's roll the videos and then we can talk about it.
तुझे डर नहीं लग रहा?
बहुत।
This is a television ad and then the bumper.
बोलूं कि नहीं बोलूं? ये स्टेप अभी नहीं लिया तो पछताऊंगा।
पंजी जंपिंग के लिए इतना प्यार?
पंजी जंपिंग के लिए नहीं।
Share a cornetto, show your love. Share a cornetto, show your love.
So, I for one missed very little when I saw that in 6 seconds versus 20 seconds. How cool and powerful is that? That you can now tell stories, and it forces marketeers, incidentally, to tell stories in 6 seconds. I think a lost art of marketing, of telling succinct, short, clear stories that capture consumer attention on now this different way of telling stories versus, the long format, which, of course, we're very used to doing. I think you will hear many more things about these creative principles from the next speaker, who's Arun Iyer. And really, Arun will talk about one of our favorite examples of all time, a Unilever brand, and how he's reimagined it. I think in conclusion, maybe I'd like to just share, for me, 2 takeaways which I wanted to share with the group here. The first is really leveraging the power of data and intent. I think we are in an era where you have the power to get closer to your consumers than ever before in an intimate, relevant way that makes a huge impact on business. And what an incredible power that is for marketeers. I think the second is make for digital, please. Unexplored canvas of possibilities on this medium. And really, I keep saying to my brand team, I want to go back to where I began, which is as a brand manager, and really learn and enjoy the art of creating and the incredible possibility that this world now has. So thank you very much, and thank you for your patient listening.
Thank you, Priya, for sharing your success stories with us. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage Arun Iyer, Chairman and Chief Creative Officer, Lowland has.
Hello, people. Wake up. Let's wake up. Okay. Guys, I'm Arun Iyer, Chairman and Chief Creative Officer of Lowland has. And I'm guessing most of you, like me, the 20 odd years in advertising that I have done have built our careers and our brands on big television campaigns. And that is one of the biggest things I want to talk about today, because we're used to a world where we all sat back and watched TV, watched matches, and then we were patiently actually consuming those ads as well. Well, I guess the world has changed, and you all have heard from enough people that that is not the case anymore. And I'm here to actually talk about one of the first few campaigns that I worked on. It is also one of those campaigns that I'm still known by, and it's a brand that Priya just mentioned, which is Surf Excel. And it's Surf Excel's memorable Daag Achhe Hain campaign that almost defined the next 2 decades of this brand's advertising. And before I start, I'm going to take you all back 13 years in time and how we did it back then.
The man is very big. Number 2 is this. देख क्या रे तूने मारा इसको तुझे अब भी देखता हूँ मारता है अभी चले सॉरी बोल सॉरी बोल रहे
दाग लगने से अगर कुछ अच्छा होता है तो दाग अच्छे हैं ना सर्फ एक्सेल दाग अच्छे हैं
Feels good to see that after 13 years. You can clap. It's a nice piece of work. So 13 years back, I remember, and I'm going to share a little anecdote about that video before I move on with my presentation. So when we were shooting this in Ooty 13 years back, and it was freezing in Ooty, and the kid, he had never acted in an ad before, and it was the first time that he was actually acting. And it was so cold, and we were all we had our shawls on, and this kid was actually, poor kid was in the water. So we actually filled that puddle is filled with hot water. So if you notice very, very carefully, go back and check it on YouTube. If you notice very carefully, there will be steam coming out from the water. So it's just a little anecdote which it brought back some memories when I saw that. So, Surf Excel has always been a brand that has been built with a purpose about instilling the right values in children. And its messaging somehow resonated hugely with the captive audiences that TV had back then. And but our audiences, they're not the same anymore. Forget audiences, one sec. Can you hold on to that also? The truth is, I think one of the things which at least I personally we always talk about consumers as them. It's bloody us. We are all the same people, right? It's not about us and them. It's not a Pink Floyd song. So it's all of us. Look at how we consume media now, right? Most of y'all are texting. Most of y'all are watching something on your second screen. And that is the reality. Our audiences are changing, and so are their expectations. We are changing, right? So we keep hearing nowadays the favorite marketing yarn is about, oh, the attention spans of people are very low. They're becoming like goldfish. And no. And the other favorite word is millennial, which also is not true. All of us also have that issue. I'm not a millennial, but even I have an attention span issue. But I think, if I were to take an example, like earlier we were all very okay with waiting for a cab for 10 minutes. But now if the Uber or an Ola doesn't show up in 3 minutes, we're all impatient. We all want to get on with lives. But at the same time, we're also all watching hours of content online. So our attention span has not gone away there, right? We're still watching lots and lots of content. We're consuming truckloads of content online. So what is actually happening? We're actually becoming more discerning, I feel, with our attention. So it's so easy to skip an ad. It seems like the 30-second spot is caught in the middle of nowhere. And if you want to watch it, then 30 seconds seems like it's just too little. So that seems to be the little bit of the dichotomy that we are living in. And the fact, I feel, is that today attention has to be earned. And that's where I feel platforms like YouTube, that's a plug, gives the viewer the rightful choice to skip, and brands an opportunity to earn attention. And I think that is what I'm going to talk about. How do we earn attention today? And we need to evolve. We need to evolve to match our audiences, what they're consuming, what platforms are they on. And since all you marketers keep throwing stats at me, I'm going to throw one at you, which is 90% of India's internet users are actually mobile first. 90%. So why aren't we building creatives for that world? Why aren't we building creatives that are built for attention? So we decided to take that up as a challenge. I also wanted to learn. So I worked closely with the Google team. And one of the biggest learnings for me was that you've got to jump people into the story. You've got to modulate the storyline, give it unexpected shifts, and actually capture people's attention. And this was the most challenging part for all of us, right? Our instinct tells us to follow the traditional arc of the TV days, but we must realize that that arc is not relevant anymore. We've got to actually move. We've got to leverage this opportunity. And this is where we reimagined Surf Excel's journey for the various online moments that our audiences live with. So our objective has always been to shift the focus of the category, to shift from being a low involvement, undifferentiated detergent to convey the purpose of the brand, which is actually modern, better parenting. So instead of just broadcasting one creative over and over again, we said, how can we actually unlock amplification, actually get our TG to co-opt our brand purpose by being present where they are in the frame of mind that they are. And to bring that message to life, we actually partnered with Google to help us understand the mother of today, her digital journey, because the internet today is actually, it's a stream of consciousness, right? So where is she going? What is she searching for? What is she watching? How do we understand her world today? And which is where we felt that we have to build something they've never seen before. So if your creative sparks off a conversation, if it can actually, a lot of us get some of our creative work in WhatsApp groups. How can we get something going like that? So let me just show you one small example, not rocket science. So just a small clip, nothing great about it, but what we felt is that if you were to raise the intrigue levels, now a kid interacting with stains is not something that a mother is used to as a visual. So obviously she's going to say, okay, this kid is fighting with somebody. Who is this kid fighting with? You've only raised the curiosity for them to actually want to pull this content now, not just see it like something that's being broadcasted. So find small ways to get that pull going. In another example, we actually went and we actually gamified this film itself. And here's how we did it. So the whole objective of the gamification is to land as many punches on the puddle to get it to apologize in a specific time. Now you're actually making people interact with your hero content in a way that otherwise wouldn't have been possible. And our next opportunity was fairly simple to actually build for the journey. And we today know what the audience chooses to watch, chooses to skip what they have watched before. And at Google, we learned that our audiences, they do not have a linear journey. So how can a brand deliver more than just content? And what we did was, and how can a brand behave like a content provider? And what we did is some of these contextual videos. Just play the videos, please. Just imagine every time she looks up for a cooking video or a stain-related video, and this kind of pops up, there is contextualizing of the video that happens, which is very simple, but she's now living the brand's purpose. Can we move on to the next video, please?
आज हारे हैं तो कल जीत भी तो सकते हैं।
So very simple stuff, but again, if she's actually looking for education content for kids, if she's looking to find moral value lessons for kids, this sort of video pops up. So brands today, I think, have to behave like content providers and actually find relevant context to place yourselves in the lives of the consumer. And the rest of it is actually pull. The rest of it is actually something that the consumer is going to have to pull and feel and then co-opt the brand purpose. So these three opportunities kind of helped us fulfill this objective and draw mothers to our content and quickly refresh Surf Excel as more than a detergent brand to them. So 13 years later, this notion seems valid. I just think we got to play around with digital and get our hands dirty with it. So that is what I had to share with you on Surf Excel. And while we are at it, what better occasion than this to celebrate brands that are breaking solid ground on YouTube. So in partnership with Kantara MRB, these ads have been handpicked by an esteemed jury of 11 advertising and media industry veterans and evaluated against parameters like attention, brand ad fit, memorability, uniqueness, etc., demonstrating the tremendous potential of online videos. Please give a big round of applause to the winners of the first ever Creative Excellence Awards on YouTube. Big round of applause. So heartiest congratulations to the creative teams and the agencies at Apple, Vodafone, P&G, Vivo, and Pepsi. These are the ads which have been picked, and these are the winners. So that's Apple, Vodafone, P&G, Vivo, and Pepsi. A round of applause, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Arun, and congratulations once again to all the winners. And now please put your hands together for Sherman Biswas, CMO and head of Flipkart Plus and Ads.
Good afternoon, everyone. As I was introduced, my name is Sherman biswas. I head marketing, I head loyalty initiatives, and strategic partnerships and advertising platform for Flipkart. I would like to first start and thank the Google leadership, Rajan and the Google leadership, for inviting me over. I'm going to spend the next 15-20 minutes and talk to you about some of the interesting stuff that the team at Flipkart has been doing over the last couple of years. And hopefully at the end of the day, leave each one of you with something to think about and sort of act in your own spheres, right? Before I start, I would like to begin with a key thought, right? We at Flipkart believe that there is nothing called digital strategy anymore. Every day there are so many people coming onto internet and spending so much of time that maybe the term digital strategy is no more relevant. It is really about evolving every strategy in the digital world. And the same thing applies for marketing. The whole concept of digital marketing is actually dated. It's about evolving marketing in the digital era. With that as a backdrop, right, I would like to talk to some of you about how the team at Flipkart have used digital as the primary and in some case, the solitary medium to drive specific business objectives. A, accelerate business growth. B, deliver personalization at scale. And C, build a habit online, right? So let's move forward. The first of the examples was something that happened about a year and a half back, when in the beginning of 2017, as a business, we had made certain fundamental changes in our product portfolio. We had improved the levels of our customer experience, and we wanted to leverage that for business growth. Our CEO wanted us to do about 85% of the season numbers. Just to give the context rolling over here, in e-commerce, season is roughly about 3 times of off-season. So we wanted to do 85% of the season number in off-season. As you can figure out, all CEOs are similar. And what I mean by that, you just can't say no to any of them, right? So we took that challenge up. So as a leadership team, we decided to do 2 things. One, move a lot of the marketing promotion budget into pricing and promotion for customers so that we could actually go ahead and give a very, very strong proposition to each one of them. The second, on the marketing front, we took a very, very bold decision. And that was about going digital only. Not digital first, not primarily digital, but digital-only initiative for a big event at scale. So essentially what we did was that we realized that a lot of our TG consume media on the mobile device. So we started adopting creatives to mobiles. You would have seen a lot of stuff being spoken about attention span, but one of the key things that we did was to realize that the mobile creatives are vertical in nature. When you normally, as marketeers, make creatives, you make it for the television set. You also make it for browser devices, which are horizontal in nature. So adopting to mobile required you to change the aspect ratio of the creative and also make it very, very conversational. The second thing that we did in adopting a digital-only strategy was to realize that people on internet, people when they're on digital, tend to exhibit an impatient behavior. The affinity to scroll or skip is very high. So we did a series of A/B tests and added dynamicity to our creative. The A/B test told us exactly the velocity with which the dynamicity should happen. And this is how we came up with, sort of creative cut-through assets which were battling the scroll speed. Third thing that we did was to create personalized assets. So essentially, if there was a customer who had browsed or transacted a particular category or a complementary category, then that person would be seeing creatives of that category. So for instance, in this case, someone who would have browsed or transacted in fashion category or a category complementary to fashion would see this creative. Whereas someone else who might have done the same thing for electronics as a category or a complementary category to electronics would have seen the other creative. And as a result, you could sort of automate and create personalized messaging. The next thing that we did was, keeping in mind attention span, we created digital-only creatives, not adopted from TV, but digital-only creatives, right, which were snackier, snappier, and shorter attention span. So this particular example that I'm going to play to you was actually a pre-event activity which was building the intrigue. Again, a 6-second kind of an activity. I'll have the video played for you.
कुछ बड़ा आ रहा है क्या? बड़ा नहीं, बड़े से कई बड़ा.
We had a series of such assets being made for the intrigue phase, for the event phase, and the post-event phase, right? And with all of these things, we saw phenomenal results. So not only did we sort of end up delivering about 85% of the festive season number, which was roughly 120% growth in that period, we did that as a fraction of a cost, overall cost, marketing plus promotions, and we saw great results in terms of the efficacy of the creatives. Cost efficiencies went up, and engagement rates were 3 times the industry average. So very, very, very clear validation of some of the steps that we took. So this was the huge success of the first case study, which was a digital-only intervention for a large event at scale. I'll move on to the second case study, which is my personal favorite of all the 3 things that I will talk to you today. This is about personalization. Personalization is a buzzword, right? Everyone talks about it, right? It's all our favorites. It works for advertisers. Why? Because it allows you to broadcast more messages and do that in a targeted manner, and thereby reduce spillage. It works for customers. Why? Because customers feel that the brand is talking to you with empathy. You know, it's a bit like if you're in a crowded room and there are a lot of noises around you, the voice that you respond to is the one that calls out your name in a nice way. So essentially, what is personalization? Personalization is data-driven empathy. But if you think about it, what are the core challenges of personalization? If it was so easy, everyone would be doing it. The core challenge of personalization is to do it at scale. And there are 2 reasons behind it. One, the time, cost, and effort required to make the multiple series of assets for personalization at scale is massive. And the second, as the user signals which power personalization, as you want to scale up, the efficacy of the user signal sort of breaks down. So personalization works in a niche pocket, but when you take it up to scale, it sort of tends to break down. So we as Flipkart took up this challenge as to how we can actually deliver personalization, retain its efficacy and effectiveness, and yet deliver at scale, right? So essentially, what did we do? We first took Flipkart user signals, married it with platform data, did ML around it, machine learning around it, to create very, very sharp, actionable user insights, and then used technology to mass create videos. In other words, we took the intent data from the platform, like what kind of videos you consume, what kind of cause you subscribe to, and married it with the consumption data that we got from our own database, which would mean what kind of categories you browse, which categories you transact in, what payment instruments do you use to pay, is it COD or prepaid, what kind of device are you using on, is it an app or a browser, etc., and brought it alive. And the result was this, and I just want all of you to pay attention. We did not make 40 videos or 100 videos or 500 videos. We actually made 1 lakh plus videos that went out to 55 million customers across 58 customer cohorts, roughly around 110 towns, which were based on 40 user signals, like the data I mentioned. And all of this happened in a matter of few weeks and a fraction of a cost, right? This, to a very large extent, was sort of industry-defining personalization at scale. I would like to show a couple of examples. Please note that these are 2 out of a lakh examples. There are 2 over here. The first one uses signals of city, gender, and categories which are high ASP or high ticket size categories. And the second one is city, gender, and low ASP or low ticket size categories. In each one of them, you will see a personalized creatives which is talking to people in the city in the context of the categories that you might have shopped or you are likely to shop. Let's see the videos.
Ghaziabad, अब पहली बार महंगाई गिरेगी. India's biggest sale, the Flipkart Big Billion Days are back. Exclusive offers and epic deals on all TVs. Only on Flipkart's The Big Billion Days, 20 to 24 September. There's only 6 days to go. Mark your calendars now.
I'll play the second video.
Bangalore, the Flipkart Big Billion Days are live now. Get the biggest offers on your favorite products on the Flipkart Big Billion Days, 20th to 24th September. Shop now.
The algorithm also allows you to change the voiceover. So if you're reaching out to male audience, you can choose a male voiceover and so on and so forth. So it was true real-time, automated, built on massive speed and a large set of signals. Look at the results that we got. 1.4 times the cost efficiency, right? 2.2x the creative cut-through rate, right? In terms of engagement rate, in terms of number of people who liked it, and so on and so forth. And the best part about it is one of our concerns was that if you mass create videos, you lose the creative aspect of it. And therefore, you may not be able to move mind measures. But we actually saw a better movement of mind measures with respect to APAC benchmarks, right? So successful was this intervention for us. We did this about a year back, that we have actually started using it in all the series of campaigns wherever targeting is required. A true example of personalization happening with moderate cost and time and happening at scale with efficiency. So that was the second case study that I wanted to talk to you. I'll move on to the third case study, which is a more conventional marketing case study of using digital interventions to build a habit, right? Now, normally when you use terms like build a habit, we always think of television. We always think of conventional media, right? But here we were taking on the challenge of delivering the task of building a new habit online for new customers, primarily through digital interventions. The habit that we are talking about is Flipkart fashion, which is by far the most important category for us in e-tail. And we started off with a clear definition of customer category tasks. So essentially, we were trying to do 3 specific tasks. First was to get more users, and in this case, it was customers from tier 2 and tier 3 towns. Second was more usage, which is to make customers transact more often. And third is more diversity, which is to make customers buy more verticals. And we said we will deliver all these 3 tasks on the back of digital interventions. So what did we do? We took a 3-pronged approach. We took the resort to content marketing and created a series of content assets that educated and inspired people to transact on Flipkart fashion more frequently and across more verticals. Second thing that we did was to create a series of content marketing assets which were tailor-made, keeping the new demographic TG of tier 2, tier 3 customers, and entertained and engaged them to come and try out Flipkart fashion. And the third thing, which we worked with my colleagues from the Google team, was to evolve a new disruptive way of media distribution which will rapidly help scale up awareness only on the back of digital interventions. So let's see some of these things. The first one was a series of content marketing assets that educated consumers and inspired them to come and try out Flipkart fashion. We did a series of activities over here. I will perhaps play only one of those. When I play the video, which is going to explain what I'm trying to say in a much more lucid manner, watch out for 2 things. One, how deep customer insights led to the creation of smart hacks, which inspires people to use a category like ethnic wear every day. Normally, people use ethnic wear in India on special occasions. I'm talking about non-sari ethnic wear for women, right? But see how user insight-led hacks are inspiring people to use ethnic wear on an everyday basis. The second point to look out for is how price point communication is subtly integrated in every part, which is delivering the message of call to action for people to come to the Flipkart app and try it out, right? Let's see the video. So a lot of the hacks that you saw have actually come from deep and actual customer insights, right? So see how these deep consumer insights are actually inspiring people to use ethnic wear every day. We did a series of activities around it. I played only one example, and we saw overwhelming results. Actually, in many of the comment section, consumers played back that this is a hack that I have tried, or this is a hack that I would love to do, right? Overall, we saw phenomenal VTR. Please realize that these are long format contents, right? This is about 90 seconds and 120 seconds, and to get VTRs of 59%, right, is absolutely fabulous, which is actually better than 70% of the industry average. But the great part about this is at Flipkart, we are not happy if we get mind measure movements. That's not enough for us. Digital interventions are successful, or any intervention is successful if it shows up in actual business numbers. And the great part about these interventions was that we saw a 40% lift in frequency of transaction, one of the core metrics that we were trying to do, right? I'll move on to the second example, which was targeted at getting more users. And if you remember the category customer objective that we outlined first, we wanted to acquire customers from tier 2 and tier 3 markets. We went and spoke to a lot of them, and we realized that the primary form of internet consumption for them was video consumption, and the most dominant way of video consumption for them was music video. So what we did was that we found out a very nice way of bringing together the concept of music video and the core proposition of Flipkart Fashion, which was about the selection or range of stylish, affordable fashion products, right? What I'm trying to say will be, again, better explained by a short video that I have. When I play the video, once again, look out for two things. One, how an iconic Bollywood song has been integrated beautifully with the proposition of Flipkart Fashion's selection and choice. Second, how the usage of augmented reality has actually allowed us to create India's first ever 360-degree music video. What the music video allows people to do is to actually interact with their mobile device, move it around right, left, top, or down, and discover new fashion styles or new fashion avatars of the protagonists. This video has been formatted for the screen. It's not the exact replica of the mobile experience, but you can understand how people can move it and interact with different fashion avatars. I will play it for you.
मुड़कर जरा देखो यहाँ, सुन लो मेरे दिल की जुबान, ना मुझसे नजरें चुराना, सुन लो तो दिल का कहना। मेरा जूता है जापानी, ये पतलून इंग्लिस्तानी, तुमको देना चाहता हूँ मैं मेरा दिल ये हिंदुस्तानी। जापानी पतलून इंग्लिस्तानी, तेरे देना चाहता हूँ मैं दिल ये हिंदुस्तानी। तुम्हें मिलना है मुझे एवरीडे, इम्प्रेस करना है फॉर्मल्स में या कैजुअल्स में, ये स्मार्ट लगना है तेरे लिए, नए लुक स्नैपचैट करना है व्हाट यू से, आज साथ मेरे चल।
As you can see, the tonality of, or the brand tone is a little flippant, is a little over the top, and that was made keeping the TG in mind. Once again, we had phenomenal reactions, and I think it was a beautiful example in which the brand's proposition was tied for a particular platform and a TG in mind, right? We saw great results, 65% audience retentions, and most importantly, like I mentioned in the previous section, tremendous improvement in the customer acquisition rates in the tier 2, tier 3 towns, right? The third thing that we did for Flipkart Fashion was around media. So conventionally, what we do is when we create a media plan, we always take YouTube or digital interventions as a complementary aspect to television advertising. So you make a television plan for 6 to 8 weeks. Why? Because it takes that much of time on television to build up reach and frequency. And then you overlay your YouTube strategy onto that because it's supposed to play a complementary role. We asked ourselves, why should that happen? Why can't digital build reach on its own? And therefore, instead of actually running it for 35 days or 40 days or whatever you may have, we actually flipped it. We worked with our Google team. I think the Flipkart and the Google team worked very, very closely over here. And we created what we called as the YouTube blast strategy. In other words, what we wanted to do was to get the same kind of awareness build up in just 10 days as we would have conventionally got in about 35 to 40 days. So the one on your right is actually the Flipkart fashion campaign, and the one on your left is actually a normal campaign. And we saw phenomenal results, right? So we got 100 million unique reach attained in 10 days. If someone had asked me that this was possible before we actually took this step, I would not have believed it, right? The real great thing was that despite this, the efficacy of the campaign did not go down. We had really good VTRs, really efficient CPVs, and the brand consideration lift of about 10%. So that, friends, is what I wanted to cover. Share stories of how the team at Flipkart have actually used digital as the lead and in some case the only medium to drive business results, to deliver personalization at scale, and to build a habit online. And in all of the cases, the thing that has remained common is that the assets have delivered on creative efficacy, business results, actual business and customer results, as well as mind measure movements. Thank you very much for your time. I hope I've been able to leave you with some thoughts to take it forward. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sherman, for sharing those incredible stories. And as we draw close to the end of the day, let me call on stage Vikas Agnihotri, Director of Sales, Google India.
Thank you, everybody. As you heard today, that our ads tool has evolved significantly to provide and make sure that you get the best out of your investments into digital. We now have a breakout session on efficient buying through programmatic. Many of you are really interested in that area, so we will actually request you to please join us for the breakout session. As well as I do want to thank you all for being here, for your relationship and for your partnership. Here's wishing all of you a bigger, better 2019 with digital. Thank you.
Thank you, Vikas, and thank you all for joining us today. Hope it has been an informative, insightful, and exciting session for all of you. All those of you who have registered